Back, you savages. Okay, so how do I select my servers, and how do I end up getting myself into servers that eventually turn out to be toxic, hot messes? Well, there's okay. The Robert E. Howard property is something that I've been a fan of for a very long time. Um, a little bit before the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie came out, actually, because I was playing Dungeons and Dragons, and a buddy of mine introduced me to the stories of Conan and wanted to know if I'd like to play a campaign world like that. And I said, well, I don't really feel like playing a campaign like that, but I mean, one or two games would be kind of fun. And at the time, I don't think we were actually playing with barbarians in the game. I believe they were an AD&D class, but I don't really think anybody was really running with those. We were running mostly paladins and dwarves because we were metagaming for the tankiness. So our DM was really big at putting in hordes, and paladins and dwarves at the time were pretty darn good for that. Any case, plus you didn't have the squishiness of thieves and wizards, even though thieves and wizards became much more stronger in AD&D as they do now in 5th edition. But anyway, aside from all that, so Robert E. Howard, Conan, John Carter of Mars, all of those pulpy adventure, low fantasy type stories kind of filled me up through my school years. And so became a really big fan of it. Then I discovered that Marvel had done a series of comics on the Conan franchise. And I bought some of those, and I have a collection now that I read through every now and then just for fun. So I'm a big fan of the IP. Okay, that's really the crux of why I come to the game. Um, but apart from that, I'm playing online. I play online because I like the semi-social aspect of running into someone and sharing your fandom. It's kind of like going to a convention. Okay, playing Conan Exiles for me is kind of like going to a Conan convention or a Conan theme park, if you will, in a virtual space. Some people have their Universal Studios, their Knott's Berry Farm, their Disneylands, whatever. Marriott's Great America, if you're here, on the coast. Um, for me, the experience is the same as going to those parks as it is to playing a online game. You're socializing with other people. It's also a way to get into that social gaming aspect when you don't have the accessibility to get to a shop anymore. Either you don't really want to put up with the staff or the clientele that shows up there, or maybe it's just the hours are just not congruent to your own interests and stuff like that. Maybe the shop closes really early, or maybe they only start popping when it's really really late, and by that time you're busy with other things. um, but just as you might stop frequenting a business because of its client or its clientele or its service group, um, its staff, the same thing kind of goes for service. But what do you look for? You look for things that are accessible. You look for things that are going to be consistent. And in terms of an online game like this, it's going to be about that ping. Now you'll notice that I chose official servers, and opened up everything else to any map, all communities, all regions, because the game is going to find whatever servers are closest to me geographically that have the lowest impedance in them. The ping is it sends out a little notification, and it measures how many fractions of a second it comes back. So 33 is what you're going to get. That's the best you're going to get in this game. 66 is manageable. You can play that. I actually have a server here with a character who's just kind of meandering along. As you can see, it's only got one player on right now. It's not me, obviously. All the way up to, you can, well, actually, you just do this here. Bam. Wow. And you're playing in the European Union for this one. As you can see, there are nobody's on. So if I go by player base, we have a PvP server here with a 33 ping. No players on at the moment, which means it's quiet, at least for a Sunday night. 3656, I'm going to say this is probably central, more on the western side of things, some on the Pacific coast. And then immediately you go up to, a 66 and a 66, and then it goes to 100s. If you go by number of players active, the hottest moving server right now at capacity, wow, there are, and I don't know what the bracketed number means. I guess that's like an overflow, or maybe admins are watching it or something. That might be what it means. Maybe there's some admins are needing to watch these things because they have to make sure that things are going right. Or maybe there's a fluctuation of 4 players. So that's the thing. But anyway, 655 ping. That's going to be seriously East Coast. There's a Latin American one. That's different. I haven't seen one of those in a while. There's a few of them actually with high populations. So yeah, and there's no 33s in here, as you can see in the first screen at least. If we go by region, we got all the Americas. And again, one of the things I want to point out here is if you'll notice that the top 12 or so servers with the lowest pings and highest medium populations or high populations, they're all PvP. And this is why I end up on PvP servers. I could go ahead and say I just want to go with PvE conflict. So I want to be able to duel with other players towards the evenings, but I don't want to worry about my base or my camp getting invaded all the time and being blown up. Dealing with the purge is going to be fun. You have a 66 here for a PvE conflict. That's middling. It's doable, but it's not the ideal. Player versus environment, again, you're going for the 66s. For some reason, the PvP servers have the lowest ping. And in spite of the fact that I may have to trade off with some occasional actual player versus player instead of player versus wall, but more likely it'll be player versus wall, nobody ever directly attacks anybody in this game unless, they're hunting for you specifically. It's always about, hitting their base and stuff like that. So it's kind of neat. Anyway, so we got this one here. So let's see, 37th. Okay, blah, blah, blah. All right, you know what? I want to try and see something here. This used to be a hot mess server. Everybody was all the time fighting. It's got 21 players. It's still going strong. But it's got a 100 ping on it. And it is like, I bet if I loaded onto this, I'd probably find a bunch of ruins. That's not really what's going to happen. So anyway, that's just a way for you to kind of sort things out. Oh, look at these guys are down to 66 again. I am not level 35 on that server. I am level 60. Thank you very much. I'm level 35 on this one. I don't know. They'll never fix that. They'll never actually fix that. So yeah. But anyway, just wanted to share real quick about how I look for it and why I end up on PvP servers. Even though I don't player versus player like everybody else does, it's complicated. I'd rather not waste the resources raiding you. If you want to, go head to head, toe to toe with me, call me out. We'll pick a spot and meet up with our gear, and I guess you can go with winner takes all, or do it for the bragging rights. Because honestly, in this game, that's all it really is the bragging rights. And if you're the only one playing on the server after everybody else has quit, which has happened with me quite a bit, there's bragging rights don't mean shit. It's just about survival, and that's kind of like I said, I PvP a lot differently. Basically, I play the very long game. Before I was moved to 3830, I was on 3822, and I came in around November of the year that Conan launched on PlayStation, because it was on PC before that. And I met up with some other players. They at first had broken into my base because they thought I was somebody coming in to raid and be part of another group that they were fighting with, and then we teamed up and got rid of them. And then, I ran with that group for a very, very long time. And then, life happens. People go through phases and interests in the game. They went through a private server phase. I don't really like private servers. I'd rather just play offline if that's the case. And then we all got migrated to 3830. And for a while, things were back to kind of the way they were on 3822. It was me and this other couple groups that got moved over. We did our thing and everything was fine, and then we got some rash of griefers, which is it's just a cycle. But the thing is that, like I told these guys that I played with on 3822 when they were talking about leaving the server, I says, I'm not leaving the server until Funcom moves me off the server by closing it down, and that's exactly what happened. And I'm not leaving 3830 until Funcom closes it down and moves us to another server. That's all there is to it. I don't build a lot. I don't run around ganking people. I'm not into breaking and entering, into people's trash huts on the river. I mean, yeah, maybe I probably should, based on the fact that a lot of the times the players that I choose to ignore end up building up so big, and then they get bored, and then you keep harassing a player long enough, eventually they're going to get pissed off, and they're going to bring the PvP to you. You wanted it, now you got it. So, yeah, wow, that kind of got a little sassy at the end. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Hope this informs your next decisions.